buyer, it's going to foreclosure because the loans on the property are more than the bid, and that isn't gonna work. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too useful.
it's not great. Okay, cool. Intros. Do we have anyone that's not normally here?
Yes.
Yes. Let's start from John. Oops.
I'm
That's
always
actual
here.
minutes. I know, but other people aren't always here.
Just do it.
Okay,
Just
so-
say who you are really quick. Go. You're the.
That's way
I'm
too
a
long,
Rotary.
John.
Yeah. I'm a Rotary member. I'm on the Willamina Chamber. The
You should say your name too.
Yeah,
I know
we
said
don't-
it.
John Glensky.
Thank you. Okay, good. Next. We're just gonna roll quick.
Joe Neely, founder of West Valley Transparency.
K-Buck was volunteer.
Ashton Sanders, I'm the vice president, and I also do a lot of scouts.
Justin Weston, Scouts.
Dorothea Lee, volunteer in several things.
John Hebert, president of the Sheridan Museum of History and Calvary Chapel Food Bank and a bunch of other stuff, Meals on Wheels. And I'm just pleased as punch to open it up for you folks.
Very much.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Eric Wagner. And I do a lot of stuff with scouts too.
Cool.
I'm Abhishek Stone with Sedcor, and I'll be spending a lot of time talking about myself, so thank you just for inviting me tonight.
And Jason Hayden, secretary.
Takei Hydro, president. Okay, great. So board, did you guys get a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. And we made additions?
All
All
being
good.
said,
Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes from November.
I second the minute.
All in favor? Anyone else? No? Okay, good. Passes. Action items.
You guys did a lot. I wasn't here. Somebody didn't tell me about mine. Could have done that on the car on the way in the car on the way
Yeah,
over.
we might
All
have
right.
to talk about
That means
Look.
you did not read the minutes.
I didn't get to the bottom.
That's right.
You just outed yourself.
All right. Let's see. Ashton, check the PO box.
Nope,
Did you invite Talon?
I did.
Okay. So invite Talon. Is he gonna make it?
He's not made it tonight.
Well, okay, but maybe another time. Yeah. Okay, great. Did you pick up a spot for the next mural without me?
No.
Okay. No problem. Anyway, we're supposed to pick a spot for the next mural. We'll have to.
We did it as a board. I wrote that action item, so I should have, but
I think we should have a meeting with Marilyn from the museum. I copied you on that email to talk about
Right.
the museum possibly writing a grant to help and what we would like to look at doing.
cool.
So that's what I think we should do. So she couldn't make it tonight. I invited her tonight. She didn't make it tonight. So I said, if we have a meeting in January, we can do that. If we have it before, she can come.
Then business cards.
Yeah, business cards. Did not do that.
I'll send you a message. All right, TK. Let's see if TK did that. All right, look into the maybe Riverfront Parks Group doing.
I've done nothing on that.
Do we need to? So it says look into the Riverfront Parks Group doing the Salt Waterway cleanup.
So Solve, the same
Ah,
organization that does they also do specific waterway ones, and I think it was mentioned at the last meeting about that. And they do those. I just feel like that should be the parks or the river.
I think it probably would
The
be under
riverfront.
Yes.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't know if it was needed and who should I send it to?
Well,
Lucy.
do you mind sending it to the Parks and Rec? Because that's.
Yeah, I just don't know who in there. like
You
who.
can send it to me right
Okay.
now because
You're just making it that.
Kira has opted out now because, she's too busy with theater and living in McMinnville, and I'm the co-chair, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll bring it up at the next Parks and
Yeah,
Rec.
because maybe it's not needed, but maybe it is.
Yeah, it's a good option because I've heard of a few people that kayak, and while they're kayaking, they actually clean up. Isn't that right, Lucy? Have you heard that too? Sorry to pick on you. She just settling in.
About the riverfront?
Well, about cleaning up under, like Solve does, we do the cleanup in the city, but there's
specific
also
waterways.
a waterways version too.
I know you have to be real careful, I mean, unless it's just something,
It's fine, I'll send it to you.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Okay.
Sorry.
talking garbage like versus a tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
You used to be able to, you could cut a tree out of the dirt, but now you're not supposed to.
no, this is purely garbage.
Oh, purely
Are
garbage.
you
Just
sure these are the ones for the side? They must be.
They are.
Must be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it was before, our
Yeah.
last meeting was before the thing.
Right. And then maps, we got the maps.
Yeah.
Maps, great.
Already done that.
What's that?
We did that, reach out to the real.
Is that for that?
I can get a little update.
That's Okay, and you get from Lucy, Lucy's here.
I didn't do that, but I did see the list already that was published in something or other about the list of approved projects. Yes.
Yes.
So she can give us an update at the end of the meeting.
Great, that's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh, look,
Wow.
actually, I got some stuff done.
I got one of those done. He just said it under his breath.
Actually, you check the PO box in here twice. So
I know.
Like that one. Just
That one I
to
definitely
delete.
might
You
get.
can't. Okay, treasurer's report. Okay, so we went, Ashton and I went to the bank and found out that we didn't do what we were supposed to do, which is fine because we found that out. Because what we're supposed to do is in the minutes, we're supposed to make a motion to add and remove members.
Okay.
So we had two that we should remove because they're no longer board members, which is
Jim and
Jim
Ann.
and Ann. So would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to remove Jim and Ann from the bank signature.
Great. I second that. Yeah, all those in favor?
Jim Buckles, he was.
Jim Buckles and Ann Mayer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Now, separately, we should add a third.
Yeah. 'Cause
John
right now
Jason. Right now, it's just me and you.
Okay, so we should add, or one or both of you wanna, does it matter?
For secure, for SRM to give money, we need two signatures.
Right.
From two board members. And right now, it's just me and TK, so we should add a third board member. Either of you, who wants to do it? It's a very simple straw by the bank.
I'll do it, I guess.
Great,
Sweet.
Good.
I motion to have John added up to the bank.
I second it. All those in favor?
Aye,
Great.
crushed it.
Not even,
Okay,
we're not even asking.
so, anyone against? No, great.
No, everybody's for it.
So, that means the three of us then have to go, but not with Jason.
We'll talk about it, but first step is you need to go to the bank and create an account there if you haven't already.
First Federal?
First
I
Federal.
have one.
Then there'll be an email between all three of us and then we'll
We'll
go.
coordinate
Okay.
on doing that, then we'll get added, and then if we need to sign any checks, you and I could do it, or you and him, or whatever. Okay, great. Okay, and then we were gonna double check that he got paid.
Yeah,
we can-
I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
I wasn't, forget, that's why I said
Okay.
email when I was looking.
And then, is there anything else on the finances? Nothing has really changed, except for we paid, we're all kind of doing this ourselves because we don't have a treasurer right now. Anyone know the treasurer? We have a treasurer on the board.
Yeah, if anyone really
Anyone
likes
knows?
finance stuff, it's pretty simple. We don't do a lot of checks, but if
Yeah.
anyone's around.
Is it mounted in a checkbook?
Balancing a checkbook and a few other things.
Yeah.
So, the only thing that's different is we paid Dorcia.
Yep.
We paid
The
the bulletin, and I think that's it.
That's
Yep.
it.
We have to do our tax.
Yeah, once a year, the tax filing, because we're a nonprofit, you have to,
Yeah.
even though we don't really make above the limit and
You
we
just have
say,
to still submit it.
you still have to submit it.
Yeah, but I have to find out how much.
It's super simple. No, and Ann will help,
Yeah,
like,
Okay, and when do we have to do that by? Do you know?
Probably, my guess would be
Ann knows.
March 15th.
Okay, can we make a note, let's reach out to Ann and just confirm?
Might be January 15th.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're earlier.
It's
Oh,
quarterly.
it meant to be quarterly.
Okay,
At least more quarterly.
good, so now, let's go, anything else with finances, we're good? We're
Yep.
good? Great, let's go to Abishroff from Sedgwick.
Yay!
I love getting an applause before you.
From finances to finance.
I know. I'm gonna stand up just so you can hear me and I can see all of your faces in case somebody was concerned or they have a question. So, to start with, my name is pronounced Abisha, and I'm with, which you do well, I mean, but sometimes people need to hear it a few times, I get that, it's a different one.
We have a couple of those around here.
Yeah. And I work for an organization called Strategic Economic Development Corporation. I know that some of you have heard me talk about the work that we do and the work that we're here doing in Sheridan, so I apologize if this is a repeat. Lucy's heard it like 16 times, so. But hey, you might learn something
Finally
new.
sinking in.
Yeah, right. Make sure I'm being consistent. So SEDCOR, which is the organization I work for, is a regional economic development organization. We've been around since 1982. And we serve Marion, Polk, and Yamhill counties. And people ask, well, what does a regional economic development organization do? Well, it can do a lot of different things. But the way that regional organizations like ours work here in Oregon is that we focus on our territory, and then our business sector focus is traded sector businesses. And what does that mean? Right, a lot of people ask. It is defined by state statute as a business that makes and sells a product on a larger domestic or international marketplace. So somebody has a manufacturing facility, let's say Forest River, right? They manufacture a product that they sell all over the state, all over the country, maybe all over the world. That's a traded sector business.
Stella Jones,
Stella Jones, traded sector business.
their headquarters is in Canada. So they're an international company.
Sure. Hazelnut grower, right? Traded sector business.
So agriculture,
what's-
so it does include agriculture,
It
excuse
does
me.
include agriculture and natural resources, you bet. So people will say, well, like, give me an example. And one that I've become accustomed to using is, you might go down to your downtown coffee shop, right? That downtown coffee shop is serving the local community. That is not traded sector. But the beans that they're using in their coffee that are maybe roasted in Hebert, that bean roaster is traded sector, right? So we have retail and commercial, which basically keeps the very local economy, right? It keeps money within our community. Traded sector brings money in from outside of our community, okay? And then people often will also group tourism with traded sector. Essentially, it is by definition, because you're bringing people into the community. We don't really work in the tourism space. We work with our tourism partners, but we're not focused on supporting tourism specifically. The wine industry is a really great example because people can get confused by this. So people will often think, the wine industry is a tourism draw. It is. It also is manufacturing, and it also is agriculture. So it is traded sector. Yeah, so just today I was talking to Brad Myers about his properties. He has some industrial properties, and his the wood side of the business is traded sector, right? But the mercantile, no, not so much.
Retail.
Okay, so we support traded sector businesses. We do that work mostly on contract with the counties that we serve, and sometimes with cities specifically. We are a 501c6 nonprofit organization. We're also a member-based organization, and we're a team of 6. So I cover Yamhill County for SEDCOR, then I have 2 counterparts, one that covers Marion County, one that covers Polk County. We have our president, our marketing communications person, and an operations person, and that's it, right? So there's 6 of us. And I mentioned to you that we sometimes do work on contract with cities directly. That work usually looks like development of their industrial lands, and that's exactly what we're doing here in Sheridan. So again, some of you have heard me talk about this, some of you might be business or landowners who've received a letter from us, kind of talking about this work we're doing. At the beginning of the year, or earlier at least in the year, the city of Sheridan went through a strategic planning process, sort of a reset, revitalization of how they want to be thinking about planning for the community. And the Midland Valley Council of Governments walked your city council and city manager through that process. Am I correct so far? Right? And it was intended to be high level, to say, what are we focusing on? Where are the areas that we want to spend some time and attention? And one of those areas was business development. We want to be focused on making sure that we are supporting the businesses coming in our community, that we are a good place for businesses to do business, and that we're focusing on all of the sectors. I am summarizing. You can read this yourself. But one of those sectors is industrial lands development. Traded sector businesses usually are on industrial lands within city limits, oftentimes, forest and natural resource lands outside of city limits. Industrial lands are pretty hard to come by throughout the whole state. Actually, there's a dearth of available and buildable industrial lands throughout our state. that has a lot to do with the way that we sort of do planning, right? And urban growth boundary expansions and all that complicated land use stuff that some of you might be unfortunate enough to be familiar with. But we don't have a lot of industrial land. SEDCOR also serves as the recruitment partner for the state for our region. So what does that mean? Trade and sector business recruitment. So if Tesla, this is just a fun example to use, if Tesla wants to come into, maybe they want another West Coast production facility, and they start to target Oregon and say, well, we're going to look at Oregon. They're going to reach out to the state, right? They're not going to reach out individually, generally to SEDCORs or a city economic development person. They're going to reach out to the state and say, what incentives do you have for us? And what locations do you have available? The state, which there's 2 people that do that work at the state level, will then reach out to the regional economic groups like ours and say, what available buildable industrial lands do you have that meet this criteria? And then we can put those forth, and then we do the dog and pony show, trying to make sure everything fits, and we find something that might work for them. And that doesn't just look like us saying, well, hey, there's 5 acres of land over there, right? It looks a lot more complex than that. We have to understand what utility services they require, which also includes water, broadband, what sort of access they need to highways, what they're looking for in terms of their workforce. Sometimes they have requirements for incentives because, they can go to Nevada and Nevada will just like open up their wallet and say, here's some money, please come here, right? So they might have some certain incentive requirements, but we need to make sure it's a good fit for the community too. Now, of course, we can't also offer land that's not for sale. So part of an industrial lands program, working with the city, is to determine what amount of industrial property they even have, right? How much of that is already undeveloped? What do the owners want to do with that property? Do they want to develop it themselves? Do they want to sell it? What other uses are challenging that property? And then try to put forward a recommendation to the community saying, here's what would be the best fit for the resources that your community has and what you guys are trying to do in growing your community and the type of land you have available. So we might work with local landowners and you might say, well, I have 5 acres of industrial land that I'd love to sell, but you should just go talk to my neighbor because he has like 20 acres of land. Well, I might say to you, hey, if you're interested in selling your land, and they are too, maybe we combine that, it becomes 25 acres, because that's kind of the minimum that we need in order to put forward for X type of business, right? So it's a strategy. How do you think about future planning and future use of a very limited resource, which is industrial land? In your community, there might even be a conversation about, do we even want to encourage industrial growth right here? Maybe we should consider it elsewhere. And can we do a land swap? That's a very complicated thing to do. And it's not to be taken lightly in terms of a recommendation. I only bring it up because several people have talked to me about it so far. So you might say our industrial land is all slated to be right here, but it's going to cause a problem for X, Y, and Z if it actually, grows there. Like maybe transportation is a concern. Maybe there's other issues. But we have land out here that's not in our urban growth boundary. Would the state allow us to do a land swap for our urban growth boundary? So that instead of being here, it's over there. Again, it's a very complex process. It has all of its own sort of complications, but it has been done and can be done. And if the city identified that their best and highest use would really be actualized if they did that and wanted to invest in it, then that's at least an action plan, right? Now we know how we want to move forward. So these are the things that are being thought about. Okay, so why am I here talking to you guys? Probably taking too much time. So first of all, because I want to make sure that all of the business support entities within each of the communities in the region that we serve know that we're here. Because our job is to support traded sector businesses, right? Somebody wants to invest in a new facility, new equipment, they're having workforce issues. We can come in and make sure they get access to the resources that are available to them, right? Simple.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so what are we being recorded for? Posterity or is it live? Oh, So I'm gonna use.
Live.
Just keep smiling.
Is it live? It's
Well,
live.
I just
He'll
wanna know
edit it.
Who I'm talking to, I try to
Yeah, no.
be aware of the examples I'm sharing because we're very confidential about the partnerships we have with our
This could
businesses.
go anywhere.
Yeah, so let's say Forest River, for example, this is a known entity that's in your community that you know made an investment. They say, okay, we're looking for a new facility. Sedcor help us identify our options. We help them identify options for available land, number one, right? Part of that was to identify opportunities for land that have tax-based incentives. The city of Sheridan and Willamina share an enterprise zone,
Right.
which is a complex thing, but basically your entire city is inside a tax abatement zone for traded sector business investment to a certain level. So if a business says we're gonna put up a $1.2 million building, there is a tax incentive to do that here in Sheridan, right? So we made sure that they were aware of that. Then they say, well, we need to hire 30 people. Where do we find these people, right? We make sure that they're connected to WorkSource and other sort of placement entities. There's also some incentives for certain type of workforce development. So if they're gonna skill people up and pay them more, there is some funding to help them do that so that they can, you know, kind of shoulder the burden of the expense of training people because they're training them up, so they'll pay them more. So there's a program for that. They might say, hey, we're having a difficult time sourcing a certain type of material. We work really hard to localize the supply chain for our businesses and to make that B2B connectivity. Multiple things like that, right? They might be looking for a lender, and we help them identify lenders or developers, right? So a lot of business-to-business connectivity, but a lot of that, like I said, is making sure they understand what resources are available to you at a city, county, state level, sometimes federal, and then making sure they get access to it. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do that. We're here for that. We're here to support your traded sector businesses in that way, right? But I'm also here because we're working with the city of Sheridan on this project. This project is time bound. I'm doing an industrial lands analysis, right? So what do you have? Taking the inventory, who owns what, what's currently being done with it, what future plans do they have? The second phase of that is to identify opportunities for businesses to come into the region, right? Understanding utility, service, things like that. Buildable land, just because it's land doesn't mean it's buildable. You guys do have some wetland issues, right? Here and some floodplain issues. And then to make the final phase is to make a recommendation to the city. Here's what we believe you should do going forward, right? Or here's a couple of pathways you could take. But these are your assets. This is what we feel would be valuable.
So this comes before the state would recommend anybody to you, right?
Yes.
You're doing all this legwork first because there's no reason for Tesla to come to you or Microsoft or whatever to build a thing because you don't know, right? So
Yeah, Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, they come to us all the time. We have no land in Sheridan to show them because none of it is listed for sale. One primary thing is that it has to be listed for sale,
oh, I see.
right? And then we can say, well, in addition to that, they probably should have had their first phase environmental. They probably should do a buildable lands review. They probably should determine.
So that would be
what
part of
amount
the due
wetlands-
diligence of buying the property, right?
And we might be able to identify state resources to help private landowners do that work.
So it's a bit of a process.
It is a process, yeah.
Is
It's
it
not
is it
yeah.
like 6 months, a year, or how realistically? I'm
our
just-
program.
yeah, what
our
you were talking
contract.
about, the 3 steps.
Yeah, so our contract with the city is a 6-7 month contract.
Okay.
The holidays and when we started it, stretched that out a couple weeks. That ends in a recommendation. I'm assuming that along the way, and I've already had some conversations with owners, that they're starting to think about things a little differently, and they might start some action toward whatever ultimate conclusion they want for their land.
So you have the names of some, I'm sorry to keep cutting
No,
in,
that's
but
okay.
you have the names of prospective, you've already gotten the names of people that own 5 to 25 acres of industrial land, and you've reached out to them and they're reaching back
I'm
to
in
you?
that process right now.
Okay,
I'm in that process right now, and I absolutely could use a few more contacts which I'll follow up with you all later,
Okay.
right, independently, in case you know some folks that I just haven't been able to get in touch with.
Okay.
But yes, that's a part of the process. And how long would it take for somebody to ready their land? It just depends, right? But
Right.
6 to 18 months is a pretty good estimate. So while I'm doing this work, because you're like, well, that's industrial lands, we're the revitalization group, right? I've also met with the Chamber of Commerce. I have something on the calendar to meet with Rotary. Maybe I'll see some of your faces in those
Yes,
at that
you will.
meeting as well. Is because, I mean, I'm looking at faces in the room. You guys know how this works, right? The city makes an investment in a strategic plan. They bring in regional and state partners. We work with your local groups and your local landowners and business owners, and we start finding opportunities to do our work in dual path, to do our work together. As I'm having these conversations with existing land and business owners, I'm hearing people say, I've always thought about opening a brewery over there. I've always thought about a coffee shop over there. I've always thought about a something over there, right? And these are existing business and landowners, but they don't maybe feel like the city's that excited about it, or maybe they just haven't had the energy, or maybe they
don't know what's there.
or they don't know what's there, or it's just kind of outside what they've done before, so it's on the back burner, right? But we start having these conversations where I say, here's what I'm doing on the industrial side, with the chamber that says, here's what we're doing on the retail and commercial side, with the revitalization group that says, here are the resources for Main Street development, here's the grants we're talking to the state about, and we can find ways to leverage each other's work and highlight the regional approach to supporting the community so that we can get even more resources into the community, more resources from the county, more resources from the state. I could do this work in industrial lands in a silo, but it just seems like a waste if we don't find opportunities to work together while this work is underway, right? While the city's investing in this work and it's underway, I want to make sure that you guys are aware of the work that I'm doing. I need your help in some ways, to make contact or get a phone number or get an introduction to somebody I don't know, to make sure we're not missing anyone. But I also want to be here to help you, right? Identify resources, identify what other communities have done, and just make sure we're being good partners along the way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Any questions? Again, I probably already took more than 20 minutes.
So how do we know if we have industrial land or hurt someone who lives? Again, is there a map of like, these are the industrial zones?
Sure is, and I'd be happy to send it to you. There are several maps, and I would be happy to send them to you.
You could sell your place, Ashley.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a couple large swaths of industrial land and then some little small pockets of industrial land throughout the community. But I would love to send you a map, and so that you guys are familiar with where those lands are and start moving things
Are you
forward.
just looking for the phone numbers of everyone who owns any of these lands?
So what we did do initially was, when we started this work with the city, was we put together a joint letter. And we sent it out to all of the registered landowners of industrial property, right? And so with an invitation for them to reach out to me directly. And now I'm trying to get, emails and phone numbers of those folks. So the less public information, right, is the emails and phone numbers of those folks. A lot of lands in your community, industrial lands, are held in trusts, right? And so I might not even know who the person of contact is. I just know the name of the trust. So you might know who that person is and say, oh gosh, I know Bob, I can introduce you to Bob. And maybe Bob didn't even get my letter because it went to a PO box in Tucson, which is where the trust was established. I don't know. But that's where that opportunity lies.
And it's not just in the city limits, it's from here all the way to Grand Ron, like?
So the project we're working on with the city of Sheridan is an industrial lands project focused on the city of Sheridan. And just outside of the city limits, right?
Does it
But
go, so
very Sheridan
like to
focused.
Rock Creek? Are you familiar with Rock Creek?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So, and then the enterprise zone, which is a tax abatement investment zone, covers all of Sheridan, Willamina, and the highway between.
Okay.
Yep. So and TK, I think we had this conversation at city town hall meeting. Maybe you had brought up, Ashton, the idea of somebody brought up a brewery. A brewery is actually a traded sector business. It can do business in a commercial space. So if you guys, that's why it's really important to have these conversations, because if you were to say to me, hey, Abisha, we're talking to this partner who's thinking about building a brewery, you know, it's not an industrial parcel, but it is a traded sector business, I'm gonna come in and say, whoop, what can we do to support that business? There might be, you know, the Small Business Sustainability Fund from Business Oregon that can grant up to $75,000 for new equipment, right? So if they need to put in equipment for the brewery, right? So there's all kinds of little things, and I want to have an open dialogue with you as you guys are talking and thinking through what's the future? What's the future of downtown? What's the future of Main Street? Because there could be these little opportunities, right, that don't fit in the definition of what I just shared with you.
Do you
fit.
feel like you have a good understanding of the challenges with the floodplain and whatnot? Because it seems like a lot of what I've heard of people who are interested in having any businesses, especially in the downtown area, they run into that.
You have to tear the building down and start all over,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Raise the building 3 feet.
or raise the building 3 feet.
Yeah,
Yes.
which,
Have you found any ways of getting around that or to make it be more
No.
feasible?
No, not necessarily. I have been introduced to some more affordable approaches, to kinder lending partners, to more affordable insurance, things like that. But no, there's really no way to get around that, right? So the floodplain, yeah.
Challenge that Sheridan.
And it's not just the floodplain, it's also wetlands,
Yeah.
and you guys have both, right? And so wetlands is not the presence of water, it's a soil type. And then, of course, we know what a floodplain is.
Yeah.
So it is tricky, and you do have to find a certain type of industrial partner to invest in property that is in one or more of those things, of those zones.
Okay, that's all very interesting, good information.
But as I go through this process, if I learn more, I will certainly let you know.
Yeah,
Right, because the state starts new programs all the time, right? They realize something's not working, they try something else. So it always seems like as soon as I'm up against the same obstacle multiple times and I start to pull my hair out, a resource appears.
okay, yeah.
Sweet.
We'll be seeing you with some thinner hair.
Oh, for sure, it's already, I cut it all off, I mean, it's already.
And if we have any questions, we just email you, reach out to you and.
Absolutely, and I realize that I don't have any of my business cards, so I will make sure I send that information to the two of you on the email. Also, my cell phone number will be on there. You can just text me.
Okay.
You can call, text. Don't feel like you're a bother. I'm often on the road, so it's easier for me to respond that way than an email.
Okay.
But I'm also happy for an email too. Yeah, and if there's anything that you're working on where you say, gosh, if only there was a resource for this, right? If only there was a grant for this or something, please ask me. I might be aware, the strangest things come across our desks, right? And we're constantly in that space, whereas all of you have full-time jobs doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And there could be an opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to just use for an example, because it's a pre-existing, like, for example, that Hyder building, could it qualify for any kind of grants through said court? Because it's kind of like a shell right now, but it's not down to the ground, but it is a commercial use.
It'd have to be probably if it's gonna be a traded sector property,
Yeah, I
which is
mean-
zone commercial and residential. so-
Yeah, by its zoning type, that limits it. It's very difficult to find funding or programs for what could be conceived as like deferred maintenance or, right? However, it is an enterprise zone. Your guys' enterprise zone does have, I believe, 2 special exemptions. One of them is for hotels, which means that they also qualify, and e-commerce. So
Where's on our president?
That
mean
is the
like
tax
it-
abatement zone.
Like Amazon or something? Is that what you mean by e-commerce?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a business where you're selling things
Sure.
online.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep. And it could look like a lot of different things. If it was a bakery, that's a traded sector business.
Okay.
If they're selling outside of, you know,
Sheridan.
just your, if it's just local, like your downtown coffee shop, then no. But if they're selling things online, which many bakeries do, right?
Let's get Kathy back selling cookies.
And then you have so then you leverage these things, then you have your sort of Main Street funding approach, and I know you're talking about a Main Street grant, I'm assuming, is it for facade?
We
Facade
had
improvement?
the Main Street grant on that for $200,000, and we are having to give it back because the owner is having to close.
Well, and this is where you start to grade the funding, right? So then, okay, like maybe it ends up being a brewery or some sort of a traded sector type business, right? Then you can take advantage of some of those incentives, and then maybe you get the Main Street grant, or the city has a facade improvement grant or a small business grant. Also, if you're applying for those sorts of grants for specific businesses, said court could also write a letter of support, especially if it's a traded sector business, which tends to have weight with those sorts of.
Okay.
But so in general, you're looking for, like, that's an empty building with no potential, a lot of potential, but no one has a business that's going into it, right? But if there was like a brewery or whatever, they're like, we're gonna turn this into a brewery, then that business itself may be able to use or get resources from said core.
Absolutely. And here's how I see this working, like, that is a downtown spot, it's commercial, that's kind of your guys' space, right? Industrial, you know, out Rock Creek Road, that's kind of my space. But I'm talking to businesses that could be in your space.
Sure.
And you're talking to businesses that could be in my space, frankly, because of the zoning. So we need to be talking to each other, because if you said to me, we would love to have a brewery, our community has been surveyed and what they really want is this brewery, then I would say, right on. What building have you cited? Are you willing to write for a grant to Travel Oregon, to Main Street? You know, how are you willing to support that business? You tell me how the city's gonna show up. I am out having conversations. I talk to brewers constantly. I'm constantly at breweries, right? Talking to them about what their expansion plans are, where their next location should be. And I can say to them, hey, guess what's happening? The city of Sheridan, they're coming up. They've got this building, a bunch of stupid stuff happened in the past. We're beyond that. You know, they're seeking funds to support this type of business. Here's what I think we can do to support you through partners like Business Oregon. Would you consider Sheridan, right? That's not industrial property, but that's business development in your community.
Could be a beer, brewery and a bed and breakfast, that would be.
Yes, and for all of our Facebook watchers, we're not only focused on breweries, it's just my example.
Yeah.
That's just my example.
Hey, you drink and you
It's
go.
actually really funny that it includes e-commerce, though,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
having a store or
Uh-huh.
like a business that includes selling to other places in
Yeah.
the country. Right?
There are very few enterprise zones in the state that have an e-commerce overlay. You guys are one of the rarities. They actually limit the number of them. So in 2025, when we look to reinstate your enterprise zone,
Mhm.
if you feel there's value in that, I'd ask you to encourage your city councilors to consider reinstating it with that overlay, because when you lose it, it's real hard to get back.
So if you have a piece of property that's in industrial zone, it's got an industrial business use, but it's surrounded by commercial property, if they use that for, let's just say a brewery, and then they had, or a winery, and they had a wine tasting where they're marketing out product that's being either produced there or in the community, would that possibly fall under something that somebody, and does it have to be the property owner, or could it be somebody who was running the facility from them?
Yeah, that's several complex questions. So yes, if it is industrial or commercial, but it's being used as a traded sector, for a traded sector use, then it's generally going to qualify for a lot of these incentives. Whether or not the landowner versus the business owner is applying for the tax abatement is actually really important, and that is based on whatever the investment is. So a
Quantity or who?
a renter cannot get the tax benefit for building a new building if they don't own it. The owner would, right? And then maybe they can address that in the lease or some other agreement between the two. But if the business is investing in equipment that they own, that they pay taxes on, then they would get the benefit of the tax abatement for that equipment. So there is an ownership requirement, but between leasing and the lessor, they can work that out. Yeah,
And it
so
could be in a
I'm sorry.
could it be in a pre-existing building, like we have a lot of them that are empty in Sheridan?
Yeah, people can make investments in pre-existing buildings that qualify for the enterprise zone tax abatement and also other incentives. Sure.
Got a great PDF on the Sheridan website from Sedcor from 2015, all about the West Valley.
The enterprise
zone and like what all the
So-
details on it.
Sedcor is currently the West Valley Enterprise Zone manager.
Nice.
So the cities are the sponsors, but Sedcor is the manager, meaning we're the ones that work with the businesses to get them to submit the applications. It's a lot of paperwork, but it's not as burdensome as a lot of other programs. And so we manage that portion. We walk them, we determine whether or not it's eligible, their investment is, we walk them through the application process, we work with the city and the county assessor's office. And then annually, we follow up with their annual report to make sure that they're taking the credits properly.
And what was the area that's covered by the enterprise zone?
Pretty
The
much.
West Valley Enterprise Zone encompasses all of the incorporated areas of Willamina and Sheridan and the highway between.
You like maps?
Yes, I love maps, it's important.
I love
Yeah.
maps. Blurry maps.
Blurry maps,
Can't
yeah.
see that far.
And that's the PDF, which is why it's a
It's the
blurry map.
entire Sheridan city limits. And
Yes.
Willamette city limits,
But not Chester.
not outside of the city limits, yeah.
What property is yours? Okay.
That you don't have business cards. Yes, I do remember that.
Okay, cool.
This is
Well,
yours, so I'm gonna, I know, I had them, they fell out. Anyway. And a big chunk fell out.
that was very helpful. That's a lot of really great information. I'm sure we will be reaching out to you in the future and you will be reaching out to us.
Yes, please.
Very well.
Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
yeah, totally.
Can I ask one more question? What was that other zone with the enterprise that you said that the city of Sheridan currently has?
The hotel allowance
It was that,
and
was
then
the
the
name,
e-commerce. Oh,
e-commerce.
yeah,
Okay.
e-commerce.
Okay, great. Let's jump into the fall cleanup. I think we could probably have this be pretty short.
Yeah.
I think, just a note for the next time is I need to pre-apply for up to the $50 picker grant, because we definitely need to be replacing some of those. I confirm they do have it, so I just need to apply next time for the spring one. And then maybe we just put a little bit of an investment in it from our own funds and just get some more too.
Any other things that we could have done better or?
I think we are missing the schools. We used to get like some of the sports teams, that kind of thing. I feel like we don't have that connection like we had before. And I thought we used to do that. I definitely let the high school know because they're the ones I have to fill out all their paperwork, but I just don't feel like it's reaching the coaches and whatnot.
Seems like the last two ones, there hasn't been too much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like none.
I mean,
It's like,
not just this one, but the,
yeah,
in the year.
yeah, so,
So you know we can look for that.
The spring it seemed like the spring one, the May one had more families.
I think there was, and I definitely think the weather played a
The
role.
weather
It was
did.
so
It was
cold.
There was, but I remember the spring one, May, right?
Yeah,
It had more families and they were younger kids with them. And it did, yeah, it was a good, fairly
it was
good.
better turnout, yeah.
But you're right, school kids, not so
Like
much.
high school, I think the high school used to,
Yeah.
like, would be the high school cheer team or the basketball team, and they would be, the coaches would
I
require.
know we
them
have
to
a
go.
lot of scouts that just had other stuff, like all our kids had basketball games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which on Saturday, I don't know why, seems to always be, I don't know if Sunday would be better,
Sunday's a bad day to do events.
Yeah.
just anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we could reach out to, if we go to, I mean, I'm sure I can dig up, but if anyone knows a contact at the school for the athletic teams, I think that's at least something that we could do because, or it used to be the senior.
I think,
Leadership, the leadership.
I think Drew, who's the counselor, Drew Carter,
He's the, oh, okay,
at the high school.
okay.
And there's a dean of students, I forget his name too, but
We can coordinate.
Yeah.
We have two connections, because I think two of the boys and scouts, I think their mom's the cheer coach.
Great.
Um,
Okay, good. So we just need to use all those connections and get the word out and say it's a great opportunity to get your guys going out and doing something in the community, and that also the seniors doing the leadership. I used to have a connection with the person who was running that, so I just need to re-up that. We lost some.
Drew
momentum.
Carter's in charge of the Honor Society, if that's what you're talking. Drew Carter, yeah.
Drew Carter. Okay, great. Okay, great. Perfect. And then, how did the dumping go? Is that fine?
Everyone's
All
fine.
good?
Yeah.
Wasn't very
Ashton had
much.
fun with them.
Yeah.
At the next time.
Yeah, I never got to use that.
Spinning around in the mud.
Yeah.
I think I didn't hear anything bad happening. I thought that everyone that did the weeding did a fantastic job in front of both of the buildings. It
Oh, yeah.
was really great.
Those
And
paper bags got rained on, but they didn't break. when I
that's
picked them up.
great. Yeah, they're pretty heavy duty.
They were pretty
Yeah.
heavy.
And the weather was just really not.
Oh,
It was very cold.
Yeah.
But people showed up. I forgot. I think it was
65.
Next time we'll just order better weather. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
there we go. More and better.
At least it wasn't raining.
It wasn't
Yes.
raining. It was
Yes.
It'd be nice not to,
Well, if it had
The
been
mineral
pouring
dump
out
was
rain, there would have been even less
Nobody
people.
would.
4 times more expensive than this. So,
Yeah. Okay, so we can make it,
literally,
if
you
it works
ever
out,
have
it's
to
just.
throw a decent amount away and drive, to make the drive to
I assume. Okay, okay, good. So, the next subject is the funding for downtown businesses. So
That's what you
Made-
sent us, right?
this is what I sent the board. Does anyone want to take a look? This is, maybe pass it down to a couple people down there. So this
Did,
is,
did you check with the Rocket Legal or whatever that?
no,
guy-
I've not done anything legal with this.
Only illegal.
So I basically just put this together from our last vote, which was that we were going to do this twice a year, reimbursement grants of up to 1,000 each time for small businesses in the downtown core. And this is the basic data that I think that we need to ask for, and I was extra careful about getting more information than what I think we originally asked. Like I realized with the Oregon Main Street, even though they have questions of funding, I was not 100% certain of him in terms of his funding. And if I dug around that, maybe I would have found that it wasn't as secure. I did find out, unfortunately, guys, that he has stage 4 cancer, which I do think that probably played a role in the last years or so of him not being able to do stuff. But anyway, so
That was triple, unfortunately.
Is that
so
Michael?
so I didn't hear any feedback from the board on it yet, but this is, I guess we could run it by Rocket Legal.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
I think Ashton, you said you liked it.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
I didn't answer. I liked
And
it too,
can
but I,
definitely make this, I can put this on the website.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like the easiest thing would be to put on the website, then we can just, have a QR code and a flyer sometime.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is, does someone on the board want to take on giving this to Rocket Legal? Not me.
Do you want to take one? Sure. you take that
Awesome.
one. I have my due from last week.
Because what I would like to do is get it, like have them review it, make sure it's all good, and then I would like to, I think I put in the dates.
you said December 15th.
Oh,
I said I wanted to have the application deadline January 30th, which means as soon as possible, starting to promote it. What I'm thinking on promoting it is getting it in the paper, like maybe someone will write an article about it, sharing it online, sending it to, hopefully Chamber would be willing to share it with their list.
Rotary.
Rotary and all that, just try to start getting it out there. If we don't get enough interest, maybe we just, all the board members take an afternoon and go walk around to all the businesses.
Well, yeah, we can do that, like in the general contract we had last time, town is we're gonna just put together some quotes
That's
of
right.
like, hey, these are some of the eyesores
That's
that
right,
we
that's
could
a great
definitely get
idea.
fixed, and give me a quote for it, like, it's not
And
my
so we can
building,
give 'em-
give me a
so
quote
we
and
can
just
give some
hand it over, like,
examples.
hey, I've got a guy lined up, he'll do it,
Yeah,
I got a question about this.
Yeah.
So I'm on the food bank board and I'm also the treasurer as of last night.
yeah.
So one of the things that you've been, and
I
I've
got
been,
you first.
Ah,
Oh!
I've also been coordinating construction projects there for a year and a half now. One of the things we want to do is paint the front of the building. And we did apply for a grant to do that, which is more than $1,000. Is that, first off, is that in the area that this could cover?
I believe so. I think what we decided,
And you've got nonprofits
there
on
is
here.
like the downtown core that as Main Street would count it. But I also feel like we should maybe not be as strict about what that is, because obviously I would consider, in my opinion, I would consider yes, because it's right near the central
Right.
downtown area. It's very visible within, like, not the residential no, but within the commercial, it is quite visible. I think we have to look at, that's one of the things basically we have to look at, is what is the downtown core for Main Street. We don't really have to stick with that. Maybe we just decide it's, you know,
I mean, that's what the
Couldn't it-
application, like, we have to decide, the application, you can submit the application, for sure.
I think we don't want to keep it so strict, because what if it's something that is one block away but is extremely visible? And
Yeah.
that's partially why the Rocket League, or maybe it'll be that we have to have very
I think you
strict.
could stand on this side and see the paling paint on that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think probably,
Well, from the pharmacy, you definitely can see it, yeah.
yeah. And in terms of the grant that you've already
So
applied
when you
for.
say Main Street, are you just,
She said Main Street, but I think she meant Bird Street.
She means Bread
I
Street.
mean, Main Street, like,
Yeah,
down
Main Street designation.
Yeah.
Ordinances.
Okay.
How
Our
we
Main
got-
Street is
how we
Bridge
got
Street.
money from. Yeah.
Like the Main
So
Street
then it does
designation
count.
is the two, it's within like a block or so of that, and then all the way down there, like it's like kind of.
Well, you got
broad.
a
Main
gas
Street
station,
ordinance,
so we're the next hideous
There's
thing.
an organization called Main Street.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
But
you said I was one.
it's us, it's our
Main Street
decision,
is
so if we say downtown core, I think we just decide if it fits that, as long as legally that's okay to not define it, then we can just look at, like, if we get 3 applications, and one of them is for immediately right here, then maybe we would look at that, but
Yeah.
I would say I mean, that seems like it would make sense, and so you're asking if you applied for that and had another grant on top of it, I don't think that would matter.
Well, we don't have another grant yet. We applied
You
for a
applied
grant
for it.
to get the money to paint
Okay.
and didn't get it.
Oh, you didn't
Oh, you
get it?
didn't
Oh,
get
okay.
it.
We did not get it.
Oh.
So so this is unfortunately not enough
Yeah,
to do it, but is there a time frame where it has to be used? In other words, if you got it, we're gonna hold on to it till we get
I
more?
think,
Or do you want to see it
That'll
spent?
all
a
be in
certain-
the legality.
yes, I think that was,
Okay, so we'll wait till,
yeah,
see
I
what
don't know,
Rocket
I
runs.
usually, for grants that I've seen, it's like you have an amount of time
Yeah.
to do it.
Understand.
That way we're not just waiting with money.
Well, it's not good to paint until it's warm enough. It has to be at least, what, 50, 55 degrees?
Yeah,
But I see here her application deadline's January of next year, and the awards are February next year. And I would think they would give it through the summer,
Oh,
because that's the only logical time to build paint anyway.
yes, maybe we look at 6 months or something like that.
And
Yeah.
do you think that maybe January 30th is too soon of a deadline?
Well, I think our problem was we've been holding on to this for a while, we just wanted to glue to
Get
it,
it
so
going, yeah.
like get it
Deadlines
going.
could always be extended.
And we're planning on
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this we're planning on doing
Right.
this 2 times. And that's why we have to keep on doing, we decided on the 2 times a year because we feel like we could at least make 2,000 in fundraising a year doing the beer garden and the stuff at Hometown Days. So then at least we're covering that and not eating up our funds for other stuff. But the main thing is just we've been sitting on it for a while and we want to just get it started. So, yeah, I mean, we could give it 2 months, but I think it
Let's do
doesn't.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's
Come on.
Christmas, yes, I would like, that's why I would like, if we could target getting the rocket, whatever it's called, lawyer, getting that done, having the board review it again, and getting it sent out like within the next 2 weeks, that would be great. We could help promote it, we can send it all around and all that.
So this is your rough draft.
This is the rough draft, yeah, so,
Okay.
so I would like those back so no one
Oh,
thinks that
okay.
this is the actual.
There you go. I was gonna write draft.
Don't hand it out.
Cross anything out you think should be changed.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Need a big stamp.
Big stamp, yeah, because I'm sure we'll have more legalese on it. But, any thoughts or anything else besides, that's a very good point, the time limit. And we just, if we can leave it loosely with the downtown core, and then we just define it as a, that will open us up for any liability issues and not defining it clearly what that means.
Or you could give a score, so sort of this is our target region, it's a higher score, this is second target region.
That's a good idea.
I've seen that.
Okay, yeah, we could look at that too.
I've kind of had a thought, not to be negative,
It's almost
but
7 o'clock.
Okay.
that $1,000, there might not be interest in $1,000 because it's not that much money. So, and I'm not trying to poo-hoo it. I'm just saying,
You're not
we'll
building a
we'll
building.
find out. We'll
Yeah.
find out soon enough.
We're talking
It
about, but that's a good idea with the, if we find out that nothing that he's planning to do it within that.
So it might be that we'd only do it once a year for 2,000 is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we'll know that. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying we'll find out very soon if
Yeah,
no one, there's one application or something. And
I'm sure there's some very decent facade improvements you can do for a grant.
How much does the guess for the paint for the food bank?
it was about 11,000, wasn't it?
ooh,
No, I think it was more like, what I remember was 19. I
Okay.
Go back.
and after all these stripped and pressed.
Yeah, but we've got crumbling stucco.
Yeah, there's a, it's,
Under windowsills.
More than just-
It's
all the preparation.
Okay, gotcha. So you gotta fix stuff before.
Yeah, that metal facade that's kind of art deco that overhangs, it has all peeling paint on it.
I
Okay.
think
It's got
John's
lead
right.
paint in it.
then maybe.
You
No.
can't just power wash it
It's-
around.
it's just a thought.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a lot just to prep a building.
Exactly. So I don't know.
Okay, cool, we'll
Okay.
figure out
We'll figure it
relatively soon. Okay,
Sure.
so do
Nice
you have
thought, though.
anything on the public art besides what we talked about earlier?
No.
Which was just,
Okay.
the next course of action is to have that meeting with Marilyn to kind of look at if the museum can help with the grant and what, if we want to tackle, if per that grant, it has to be restoring a historical mural. We also have to include Shannon in the conversation, which was great when she came here, but if she could actually define, if we pick this one, what she would do, and would it qualify for the grant with the
It's
museum?
still in a lot of ideas, right? It's an idea stage. Where
It's an
there's,
idea stage,
So many
but
different ideas and
But
things
I
we
think
can
it's
do.
really cool that if the museum could potentially help with the funding, that might make it a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Since we're doing the smaller murals versus rehabbing one of the big ones. Okay, good. So we'll bring that up next time. Let's just jump through the other things and then we'll end with the city council. So the January meeting, it would be on the 2nd, I think. I just had attention on that's gonna be a rough time to get people for, people
It's
next
not
to.
the first.
It's not the first.
It's the second.
It's the second.
Very close.
But New Year's Eve is, there may be some.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
It'll be a rough day.
Yeah, so I just wasn't sure, do we wanna wait till February?
I wish I knew what my calendar looked like.
Well,
Why don't we do it the
second
8th?
is a terrible week.
I think we've
the second
decided that
is terrible.
changing it to the next week has never worked out very well.
Okay.
The 9th would be the next Thursday.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think we've done that before and
It didn't go.
drop off on
Okay.
most people. Last
Yeah,
time
but
we tried that.
Okay, well, we're not gonna get anybody here on the second.
That's why I brought it
Yeah,
up, it's
yeah.
I think,
I mean, It's
in
also-
terms of, it's,
the 9th doesn't feel, anyway, I'm fine with the
I
9th.
tried to make it to the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, the 9th seems
Maybe we're
fine.
all grown up, so.
It's not like-
We should vote on it.
It's not like moving the one in March, like when it's the very first, when it's so close to the beginning of the month. It's super hard to be so close to the beginning of the month. It feels like the first week of January.
okay.
I
So
think
we
it's fine
want
to
to,
do it on the 9th.
we want to move it to the 9th.
We have at least one solid thing.
Do we have a second on
I'll
that?
do
Well, we
that.
also have to make sure
Look,
that,
and
I
we
don't
got
count
Lucy.
though.
is John here?
I don't count, but I say yes.
So we have to talk to John.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk to John when he gets
Okay,
back
Jordan.
and make sure that that's open because it's not our usual.
But it sounds like if it's open, let's go tonight.
Okay, okay, good stuff. And then, okay, painful, yes, we do have to, I have to have it in the minutes that we are officially canceling the grant.
I have a question before you do that.
Yes,
Okay, I don't remember that grant anymore. I mean,
I will give you an overview right now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember right, because I wrote a letter,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Could we use that to paint
but.
It's a great
question.
That's
It would cover your
I mean, I hate giving money back, I don't know what to say.
I know, it's really.
We'll make it look awesome.
It's
It'll be
really-
great.
No, you have to take it back to the building how it originally
How
looked.
expensive glow in the dark paint is.
So the grant is attached to the building. The grant is
Thank
attached
you.
to that
I
building.
couldn't remember the new owner.
Yeah, so
So
it
if
could have
the food
been,
bank wants to move,
And
No, that would cost more than the grant.
yeah, so what happened is, there was some delays, it was moving along rather well, there was some delays, more delays, funding issues, and then more delays. And it basically got to the point where the bank was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore, we're gonna take it back from you. And they were gonna not do a foreclosure if they could sell it via auction. They tried to sell it via auction, but they found that the liens on the property were more than the bid price. Therefore, they're like, the bank is like, we're foreclosing. So I talked to the real estate agent last week, and he's like, yeah, it's happening. And I said, is there any chance that could be really fast and a new buyer can get in there and do all the work before April 30th when the thing goes away? And he's like, no, there's no chance that will happen. And then I asked Main Street people multiple times, is there any way that we can extend it? No, these don't work that way. It's state money, they don't work that way. And
But I didn't remember it's attached to the building.
yeah, it's attached to the building. And is there any way that we could, I asked something else. Oh, is there any benefit in holding on to it? And they're like, no. And I'm trying to play really good with them so that they will wipe it
give us
clean,
that back.
and
when
they
we
will
need
give it
next
back.
year.
And it seems like when I had this conversation with her, she's like, no, it's better just to, do that. So we need to make a motion that we are canceling, that's the terminology, that we have to cancel the grant because of the foreclosure and the fact that there's no option at this point open to us in order to use the grant money.
I'll make that motion.
You have to say the whole thing.
Say it, repeat it to me.
Yeah.
You can do it, TK. You make
Yeah, you do it,
Okay,
TK.
I
You got it. You
so
should.
much work. Okay. I make a motion that we cancel the grant on the Hyder building with Oregon Main Street because of there's no hope in being able to actually use it before the grant deadline of April 30th.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, board.
Yep.
All those in favor? Anyone
Aye.
against? No. Okay, motion passes. It was a good learning experience.
Does anybody have a napkin for tea?
Too much
Okay.
work for nothing.
Yeah, I'm just like, learning experience. Okay, good. So that's done. I wanted to, remember I made this thing a while ago, prevent homeless camping on your property, be proactive. I
Yes.
think I made some edits, and these are the latest ones. I was just gonna pass them out towards the end, and you guys can keep them and let me know if you want.
Can
any.
you email them out to the?
I could.
That would be easier,
Yeah.
truthfully.
Here, if anyone wants to take them, take one, pass it down.
I'd rather email too.
That was just, we made, for anyone that's wondering, it's been an issue with homeless camping, illegally camping on properties and causing an issue. So I did some research and talked to some deputies about like what are the things that homeowners can do that's proactive. I couldn't find anything like that online, so I just kind of pushed it all together, and that's what I came up with. And if everyone likes it or whatever, I was gonna publish it, whatever.
Angela's been doing a good job on
She's
that.
been doing a really good job. I really love
I
it.
set up an email tree for a bunch of businesses here. So she's been,
Oh.
there was a camp set up at the, this is the park, what's that park right?
Well, the one
South
closest.
No, the one
is
right by the
Chester Moore?
Yeah, Chester Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she reported that,
That's
they
great.
saw it, and so the deputy, as soon as she sees them, then
Yeah.
she's on it. There was a motorhome on Jason's Street going up there, and I told it, and they got that towed away. So
That's great.
she's on it. So she's very willing, and I just talked to all the business. I talked to the food bank, the American Legion, the pharmacy, the IGA, the I can never think of the sandwich place here.
Subway.
Yeah, all to just, the whole idea was I didn't want to go to more meetings. I didn't want to do a monthly thing, but just, you see something,
An email
then you,
treat.
you just email it down the line. And I hooked up with Daryl at the sheriff's office. And so it goes to that, and then you call the emergency line. And,
John, you made your own downtown association.
oh, boy.
Well done.
Yeah, well, and actually, it's so funny because working at the food bank, we were seeing, there was like that area of the parking lot with American Legion and Benny Hughes, no, not Benny Hughes, but the Green Frog, and you just see all kinds of stuff. The people were sleeping in cars there, and the people would come to the pharmacy early in the morning, the workers, and were afraid to get out of their cars. And so then we set this thing up. There's, it's kind of cleared out. So, maybe it's just.
Does that include like down West Main too? Because
It's the gas station. I got the gas station.
Where the vet and.
No, I haven't gone down that
And
far.
the physical therapy.
And I
Yeah,
talked
well,
to.
Provoking Hope's down there.
Oh.
But,
Yeah.
Where'd he move?
He retired.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
no, it's just right. It's just pretty much right
Just
here
this
and up that
step.
way.
Sure.
And
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's do open comment period. Anyone have any comments?
Notes, thoughts, recommendations, requests?
We've all kind of talked throughout the whole thing too, so that's fine. Okay, good stuff. Lucy, do you want to give us an update from City Hall?
The only thing I can think of that's actually pretty good is they distributed the ARPA funds at the last meeting, and
Do you want to tell us what they are?
well, they have to do with water and sewer.
The first one that got the most amount of money was which one?
The Ballston plant, the tower out by the
ARPA.
FCI,
Okay.
ARPA.
The ARPA funds.
American
1.8
Rescue Plan.
1.38
Yeah.
million, 56, something like that.
Okay, so
Anyway,
the water plant got the most,
the water plant, the pump,
the pump.
and actually they're gonna finally do it the right way. I guess I don't even have the beginning instructions on it, so I'm just gonna clean it out. And then there's water and sewer, I can't remember the first initials on that, SCADA.
Yeah.
And then there is little traffic light signs, shows you how fast you're going. I think it's enough for 3.
Yes.
Solar panel.
Yes.
Solar
Yeah,
panel
And
ones,
they're
okay.
portable, I think, right?
Okay.
Yeah, just like the ones that keep trying to borrow, but we can never get them. And then I thought a really great thing was that they got the funds for the Morgan Street parking lot
Okay,
and for the pavilion, which includes the retaining wall
great.
and getting ready for the
Mm.
riverfront
That's great.
package. That does not include the bathroom though, and the bathroom is $100,000 by itself. But that's very good
It's a
because
beautiful toilet.
then, hey,
Very
the one at the park, too, at South
It-
Park, it's about as good as in South
88,
Park.
yeah, it's,
Better than putting in San Francisco.
But then too, they're working on getting that riverfront sectioned out, so that will be these certain things have to fall into line in order to qualify for putting that on the map.
Okay.
Putting Sheridan on the map.
That's great. That's so exciting.
And-
And is there a timeline on when this all will start?
The funds had to be distributed by December in order for them to be processed next year. So that's why we had to make that commitment. We really didn't have that long before we decided to do the switch-o, change-o. But the important thing is they've been allocated as of the last meeting.
The federal requirements for ARPA expenditures, that projects have to be completed by the end of December 2026.
Wow, okay,
So if they didn't believe that would happen, I don't believe they would have allocated funds to.
great. So stuff will start.
That's the
Well,
requirement.
the engineering was the hardest part, Civil West just getting an agreement with those, actually, it's the Chester Moore, but a small piece of Chester Moore, it's basically under the bridge, the retaining wall, the walkway, the sidewalks, the parking.
And that's still
cars.
working around the owner of the Stonehenge.
Not really, I think Stonehenge is just kind of there, he thinks we need him, but we don't need him. We're just
So we're
calling
just
him,
working around.
yeah,
but
we're just
there's
gonna call him the Sheridan.
wonder if that's industrial.
Huh?
Yes.
I wondered if that was industrial. I'm
No,
sorry,
it's
bad
commercial.
joke.
Actual,
River park.
Whenever you think about industrial land, and maybe Abishaw knows this, I know it just from
Stonehenge.
living here, is a lot of it's out
Tourism.
from Richard Street to Rock Creek is the
Yeah.
majority of our industrial
It
land.
is.
And the nice thing is most of that land out there is
North of the highway.
farmed, I would say currently being farmed. The other ones are not storage.
Solar farm.
Yeah,
President as well.
I know we don't need that solar farm, we need to put
Did,
something
did
better than
Sedco help with the solar? Okay.
Is that what would be?
It's not traded sector, it's,
Okay.
I mean, more closely aligned with utility, though I don't think it falls into that realm.
And the prison wasn't a Sedco thing, right?
Okay, cool. How are we on time? Oh, we got 4 minutes. Wow. Anything else that we can talk about?
Did we decide January 9th?
Oh, we need to wait for John to be back so we can
okay.
ask him and make sure that that works for
I
the,
mean, we can
And-
decide that we'll do it if,
yeah,
as long as that's.
yeah, yeah, as long as that works.
I think they're going to burn the 2 buildings tomorrow, right?
Saturday.
Oh, so that was
Is
decided.
it Friday?
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, okay, so that would be something,
Yes.
the 2 buildings that are across from the city
The-
hall,
Are they
they're gonna
making them
burn.
into parking lots? Is that the idea?
I hope they do now.
I don't know what they're gonna
I
do.
think so.
The 2 buildings across from the city hall?
Yeah,
The houses,
the houses
The
that,
houses that have been in really horrible condition.
yeah,
I
So
think,
they did the fixing of the taking out the asbestos or
it's
whatever
either
it is.
Friday or Saturday, they're
Saturday.
gonna
That's
do
what
a control
it was.
burn.
They should do it.
Or to make them safely burn them, with the idea of sort of.
And then, you know, it has to get cleaned up too, whatever remnants is
Okay.
left. Yeah.
Okay.
2 houses burned. I'll put that in my notes, so I don't-
I think there's also a post on Facebook to say, hey,
Okay.
this is gonna be a burn to learn. I
Yeah.
think the
Oh,
fire department-
yeah.
Exactly, it
otherwise
is,
it's gonna be a
yeah,
big
we don't want a bunch of people calling.
Actually, that's probably a good, because it's supposed to rain Saturday, huh?
Mhm.
Oh, it's Saturday, okay.
Is this Leo's number? Do you have?
Bright and early.
Okay, good. Well, we can end off a couple minutes early unless someone has something they want to talk about. We actually got through all of our things early. Wow, this might be the first time we've ever done that.
It's because we started early.
We
Yeah.
started on time.
We're on time.
And we had special guests.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Okay, let's take the.
I was trying to get a hold of him, and I even left the detailed message, and he usually turns my